spending the whole day at the Sunnyside Health Center. Some of those seeds.
But I got 2 o'clock.
So it is Saturday, not today? It is Saturday, not today, or is it today?
No. The flyer that you saw,
Uh-huh.
I'm saying, it was started to her, but then it came over, but I said, but I did remember her saying it.
Oh.
Saturday, we gonna have, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's still on its way, so they had
Yeah, I think she said that.
She definitely said Saturday, but then I thought you said it was today.
No, HVAC got one.
Oh, okay, okay.
Where HVAC?
Hey. It's on the.
I saw something about this hope having something that week, and I said, oh, I've seen it.
I know.
So that was interesting. If somebody don't own us. They take our money.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started at 8:54. So, for those who are watching live, we were supposed to have to have our second panel today. 3 candidates to speak about their run for the 18th. But as I was confirming their participation for today, all of them let me know this past Tuesday that they were suspending their campaign and we're no longer going to run. So we're going so with that note, we're going to roll into doing a part 2 of what we did last week, which is talking about the importance of grassroots leadership. And last week, I gave an overview of the critical things that are always happening in our communities that seem to be ongoing, and the reasons why that's a problem and why they need to be fixed. And I'm going to build upon that platform, that foundation that I laid last week, because it's still important that we not only understand the importance of having grassroots leadership, but we understand that if we don't have it, bad things happen. Good things don't happen because that leadership is not what it needs to be. But bad things most certainly happen. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the 2 things I covered last week, and then I'm going to get into the new things I want to share with you guys this morning. So let me get this slideshow up and running. I'll zoom through this quick overview of what I covered last time, and then I'll get into the upcoming issues. So what we talked about last time as far as the community issues that are hey, Ms. Renetta, community issues that are always ongoing in our communities that seem to never end. The minor ones that we talked about last week are illegal dumping, abandoned buildings, zoning laws, traffic signs, and parks not being properly funded. So I've been to several community meetings, several civic club meetings, several super neighborhood meetings over the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And these issues seem to be ongoing. I communicate with people in other cities around the country who are always talking about these issues. And then, of course, the major issues that they also talk about deals with education, crime, flooding, poverty, and homelessness. So the issue that we have when we don't have proper grassroots leadership, grassroots meaning they're connected to the community, they come from the community. It's a bottom up approach to leadership as opposed to top down. When we don't have people from the bottom up advocating for the community often goes without, which of course is a big problem. And also what we covered last week is why there's so little seem to get done in the spaces that are predominantly Black, poor, or brown. Why there's so many predominantly melanated poor communities constantly dealing with the same issues. Why is there no seriously concerted effort to educate the populace and bring them into the fold of local government? Why have we been unable to properly mobilize and organize and control the spaces where we live, which is a big one? Because we don't have leadership, again, from the bottom up. Or as opposed to top down, we have people who are disconnected, disinterested, individualistic, and unconcerned. Their motivations are money, status, and materialism, so the people suffer continuously. As I've said several times, and I'll continue to say, we're actively dealing with an issue right now of having proof of a sexual predator at a local high school. And I went to speak to city council, I went to speak to the school board, and after reading very graphic detail of what this sexual predator did, no one after the city council meeting and the school board meeting twice, and I'm not the only one who went to speak about these issues, no one came up to myself or our team members to ask what could they do to help. And we can only conclude that they didn't do that because they don't care. So what we have to understand as a community is we have to understand that just because an entity looks like us doesn't mean that they are connected to us and or care about us. And with that understanding, especially now with what's happening in the country, with this president, with this administration, we absolutely must accept the reality for what it is, embrace the reality for what it is, and put ourselves, as it relates to being grassroots people, in a position to lead. So this was the high point of last week's presentation, and what I'm about to share with you after this, I'm hoping will scare the crap out of you, because it's scary as it relates to what's going on in the country and what's happening now and what's coming. I don't know why my screen just went back. Let me see if I can get back to my presentation. Slide. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I want to drive home the point of what's coming as we covered last week and what's next. So about a year ago, last February is when we started talking about Project 2025, and from February to October, we were trying to prepare the community for what was coming. Nobody believed this. Everybody thought it was a hoax. Everybody thought it was a Democrat scare tactic. I even had a few national figures who put out some bad information that I created a presentation for to rebut that bad information. And now in September of 2025, we see that all of it was true. And not only was all of it true, but they're ahead of schedule with what they're trying to do. And some of the things that they said they were going to do, that they've already done, that's going to hit next year, which is going to have a very serious and very real impact on Black, brown, poor communities, no matter what those communities look like, is 75 to 80% of the people who currently get WIC and AFDC food stamps, they're going to be cut off. 75 to 80%. Just that one thing alone is going to create turmoil in the community around the country for people who don't have resources. There's been an active attack on homelessness, whereby they're trying to make homelessness illegal. And I don't believe that most people are homeless because they want to be. They're homeless because of circumstances. But if they're cutting out the social safety net to help the homeless people, what's that going to happen to the community? Head Start, which I benefited from, and most people my age benefited from, and early childhood education are being cut out. Cuts to Medicaid is happening. Pell Grant and public education dollars are being cut. AI, which we're going to have a segment about in the near future. AI is going to replace hundreds of thousands of human jobs. The attacks on the vote are continuous and constant, and then it never ends because those persons who have a certain agenda of how they want America to look, it is not for the grassroots people on the bottom to rise. It's for those who have the power to maintain power. So they're always attacking the vote. And that's one of the reasons why I tell people who say that voting don't matter. I always say to them, well, if it doesn't matter, why would they try so hard to keep you from doing it? Because it does matter. And as long as it's one person, one vote, we have a chance to create change. But if they're always going after that vote, then that's a threat to us having the kind of existence that we want to have in this country. So they have redrawn the political lines to make sure that Texas will continue to be a Republican state, and they will have more votes for Trump coming up. They're eliminating mail-in ballots. They're working on doing that right now, and they've already declared martial law in at least one American city, and they're looking at targeting minority-led Democrat cities across the country. So the question you have to ask when you look at this reality of what's already happened is just a matter of them waiting for next year to kick in so these things can become law. When you look at all this, you have to ask yourself, what kind of world, what kind of America are they looking at creating, and who's going to be on the top and who's going to be on the bottom? And if you don't have leadership that is paying attention to what's happening in the country and how that affects you, your life on a local level, then that's inadequate leadership, that's dangerous leadership, and I venture to say that that is not leadership. So one of the things that we have to understand from a high level as it relates to this whole Project 2025 thing is that most people still don't fully understand what Project 2025 is, and they don't understand the implications of it. So as I told you guys earlier, we being my organization, we've been doing presentations on Project 2025 since I think it started February of last year. And of course, we were doing these things because we were trying to prepare the community for what was coming. And now we're in a position where we have to prepare the community for what's here and what's about to take place. Now, what I'm about to share with you as relates to Project 2025, most people never got, still don't grasp, and still don't fully understand what's at stake. So this version of Project 2025 is the 5th version, number 5. The first one happened with Ronald Reagan in the mid-'80s. And when Ronald Reagan enacted the first version of Project 2025, they got about 35% of that done. And Trump is ahead of schedule with about 65-70% already done. And it doesn't stop. They continue to have an agenda to widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots. So for those that don't know, for those who haven't taken the time to research it, to read, to understand it, Project 2025 is about reshaping the executive branch of the country. It's about giving, it could have been any Republican president, but specifically it was Trump because he was the one that was running. It's about giving Trump control of 15 national departments, which they have done and are doing in this country. And those 15 national departments affect the lives of hundreds of millions of people. Agriculture, commerce, business, defense, education. I think that is. Let me see what that is. I don't know. Department of Energy, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, Housing, Interior, Justice, Veterans Affairs, Treasury, Transportation, Department of State, which is Foreign Policy, and Labor. All of these departments affect the lives of hundreds of millions of poor people in this country. Before Trump won office and started to put these things in motion, we were telling people that all this stuff is going to happen, all this stuff is going to be bad. Very few people believed us. Now it's happening. So what we have to understand is that if they are looking to change how America functions, and we understand because we're paying attention that those changes are going to affect the lives of millions of people, we as a community we have to do what we can to get in front of it, because it's no longer a matter of if, it's when. So, for example, if the Department of Agriculture has a role in feeding poor people. And they are taking away that role to feed poor people. How are poor people going to eat? If the Department of Labor has a role in training and employing poor people, and they take that role away, how are poor people going to be trained and employed? I showed a snippet of the documentary Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power, because these Black people in the mid-60s in Alabama realized that if they were the majority, they were 80% of the population in Lowndes County. They realized that if we're the majority in this county, then we need to be running this county. And from that point moving forward, they started to mobilize and organize themselves to run that county. And they were able to do a few things, but what they didn't have was an understanding of business and money, because politics and business work together. If you have a business and no political connections or infrastructure, then those politics can move you out of business. If you have the politics and no money, then there's no way to fund your political movement or aspirations. So they have to work together. So what we have to understand in 2025 moving forward is that if they are changing how all this stuff functions, and that's what they're doing, then we have to take it upon ourselves to not only understand how all this stuff works, but how we can continue to make these things happen in our lives so that our lives are not a living hell. And for Black people in this country, we have to understand that everything we've gone through, I don't always share this slide, but I'm about to share it with you guys because I want y'all to see it, and I want you guys to really really think about what I'm about to share with you. And I know Brother Will has seen it at least once or twice. So this slide I'm going to share right now. These are the major things that our people have gone through, melanated African descendants. These are the major things that we've gone through since we've been here in this country. If you were to add up all this stuff that we've gone through since we were kidnapped and brought here, or some of us, the majority of us, born here in slavery, enslaved, it would be over 2,600 years of stuff that we've gone through. From legal slavery to Hollywood's propaganda on our image, who we are, our history, our culture. All of this stuff is history and current events. This stuff happened. And what we have to understand, especially Black people, we got to understand that all this stuff was public policy, which means what? Somebody had an idea, somebody had an agenda, somebody got some other people to agree to their idea and their agenda, and all this stuff was legal. And even the parts that wasn't legal, they worked with the legal apparatus to make sure that it was okay for them to do that. I consider myself to be fairly well read, fairly well connected. And I recently learned about eugenics, sterilization, and birth control like a year and a half ago. So before that, I had all this stuff on here, but I didn't have that because I didn't understand the role that Planned Parenthood played in eliminating the lives of Black children. Had no idea. But when I went to an event and saw this documentary, I think it was called Maafa 2019, I think that's the name of it. I had to add that. So my point is that we've been through a lot. And we've been through a lot because since we were kidnapped and brought here, we've been in this country has always been anti-us, anti-our forward progress. And the point that I'm trying to get our people to understand and recognize now, what I'm trying to get our people to understand and recognize moving forward, is that we still have enemies. We still have people that have a certain agenda that is not good for us. We still have people who are mobilizing and organizing against us. And because we don't mobilize and organize, we lose. And we repeatedly lose because we're not even thinking about what they're thinking about. I said last week that there is an organization that since the 1930s, they've been sending their children to political camps since the 1930s to learn how to run cities since the 1930s. I thought that it was just in Texas and it was just for boys. What I learned most recently is called Boy State and Girl State. I learned most recently that it's not just in Texas, it's nationwide. And they do it every year. They send their children to camps to learn how to run cities. And you have our people talking about voting don't matter. So that's what we're up against. I'm going to play a brief clip for you guys that was sent to me by the brother who runs our national political department, because we have national political departments, national departments. Oh, let me go back and share one thing for you real quick. I want to say one of the things that we don't do as a people, as a community, and as a minority group, and minority groups don't do this. Grassroots groups don't do this. If these national departments are changing, which they are, we not only have to understand what they do and how they do it, because we have to replace those things as much as we can. We can't do this if we don't have people thinking about doing that. Project 2025 was 225 white-led, white-focused think tanks thinking about how to do what they are now doing. One thing that we do that far exceeds what any other Black organization is doing is that we actively have think tanks. I am actively working on developing a think tank for every one of these departments. And of these 15, we have 9 that are up and running. And I'm always trying to find people to add to those think tanks. And I'm trying to bring the other 6 into being. Why? I'm not doing that just because it sounds good to say we got think tanks. No, I understand that, like in the game of chess, and we've always all heard the moniker, they're playing chess, we're playing checkers, marbles, or whatever. If your enemy is thinking about these things and you're not, you're going to lose. We don't play as a team, which is why we lose. And we have to understand that our enemies, they not only play as a team, but they are serious about their playing and their team. And they do this around the world. But because we don't have leadership from the ground, the grassroots up, from the ground up, from the bottom up, that's thinking about how we can survive in a country that's always been anti-us, we lose. If you look at the current people who are running for office, both here in this city or anywhere in this country, most of them are coming from the top down. They don't have history. They don't have connections. Miss Renetta always asks, and Miss Fano, you guys always ask the question, what have you done? What are you doing? What are you going to do after it's over? The best candidate are the ones that are already working in the community. They're going to work in the community regardless because it's what they do. What we have to do is we have to find those candidates and get them to run. We have to find those people who are already doing the work and get them to run because they already know what the community needs. And we have to connect their undying love and commitment to the community to Black think tanks so that we can marry their grassroots understanding with an understanding of a higher level of what's happening. Because if you don't do that, if we got think tanks, if we got generals and no soldiers, we can't win the war. If we got soldiers and no generals, we can't win the war. And we're losing the war because we don't have enough of either. And the clip I'm about to show you guys, I'm hoping it scares the crap out of you. Because the idea is that America is changing, and those changes are not pro-poor people, no matter what they look like. So if we, poor people, no matter what they look like, if we don't fully grasp an understanding of what's happening and what's coming, we are setting ourselves up for a new kind of slavery. Not just Black people, not just brown people, poor people, period. Why? Because those with money, those with an understanding are moving very fast. Thursday Morning Breakfast is an offshoot of our sister organization out of Shreveport, Louisiana called Tuesday Morning Breakfast. If you don't know who Craig Lee is out of Shreveport, Louisiana, I encourage you guys to find him on Facebook, send him a friend request, and follow him. Because they have Tuesday morning breakfast, and they've been doing it for 20 plus years. So they got a solid following. I got to catch up with the people that they have in the audience. But they had, this past Tuesday, they talked about AI, artificial intelligence, and how rapidly it's moving, how important it is that we understand it. But more importantly, we got to understand how it's going to change society. So this clip is one of many that Brother Craig always sends me. And I want you guys to listen to this. It's only 5 minutes. And after I play it, I'm gonna ask you guys some very simple questions about what he says. And I guarantee you're not gonna know what I'm talking about. But that's the point. The point is that there are other people who are organized, who are moving, and we don't have a clue because we don't pay attention. We're not plugged in. We don't watch the right videos. We don't read. We don't vote. We don't mobilize, organize. We don't go to commissioner's court. We don't go to the city council meetings. We don't go to school. We don't have a clue. We will complain all day long, but we don't want to lift a finger to be organized because we don't want our existence to be disrupted. So with that understanding, our goal in my organization is we understand that it's not going to be everybody because it's never been everybody. It never will be everybody. Everybody didn't love Dr. King. Everybody didn't love Malcolm X. Everybody didn't love SNCC. Everybody didn't love the Panthers. But we don't need everybody. We need a critical mass. So what we're trying to do is get 35 to 40% of our people, no matter where they are in a given area, to do something. Because if we get 35, 40% to do something, then we can make some things happen. There are things that we can do as a grassroots organization to run this city. But to do that, you got to have certain things in place. So I want you guys to listen to this guy. And the good thing about this video and AI and what's happening and what's coming, the good thing is that we have a chance to be a part of it if we're paying attention. So this video is why having grassroots leadership from the bottom up is so critically important, because when it's top down, we repeatedly lose because the top don't care about the bottom. And we know that because we're always dealing with the same issues year after year after year after year after year, despite the fact that we got leadership that looks like us, that don't care about us. So when Zora Neale Hurston said, all of our skin folk ain't our kinfolk, bingo. Because just because they look like you don't mean that they are you. So check this out.
The Trump family is literally taking over the financial system. September 1st, 2025. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible and break this down so the normal everyday public can understand what is actually happening. Today is a historical day, September 1st, 2025, and I want to break this down because there's a lot of confusion. The Trump family launched their World Liberty Financial Token, which is a DeFi platform that the Trump family, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Barrett Trump, and the Witkoff family, study the Witkoff family. They created a decentralized banking system, which is completely opposite of the old centralized system that we're coming from. In the decentralized system, we're the bank. That's just one thing that's happened since Trump's become president. Now, one side is pushing back heavily because of the conflict of interest. Now, that's kind of weird to say in regards to politics and conflict of interest and investments and getting special treatment. But the Trump family's crypto is all inside of a trust managed by his children. Trump is the president of the United States, and he pushed through really heavily to get the Genius Act approved, which is stablecoin regulation. Follow along with me on here. So a stablecoin regulation, this is where I'm going to help you guys separate the two. Stablecoins are backed 1-to-1 by the US dollar. They're not really investments. It's where you would store, like for example, if you profit in crypto, you would store it in USDT, USDC, RLUSD, which is Ripple stablecoin, USD1, which is Trump's stablecoin from World Liberty Financial. So today what went live is their DeFi token that's connected to World Liberty Financial. So that's a tradable token that you can trade and make money off of. USD1 is a stable coin that if you made profits in that, you could store your profits in that that's backed 1-to-1 by the dollar. Now here's where the complete rewiring and the taking over of the financial system in a decentralized way is happening with the Trump family. Now remember, they got pissed because they got debanked because of their political position. So now what they've done is they've created their own decentralized platform where we are the bank. So they got World Liberty Financial, which is live right now on exchanges like Kraken, and Coinbase just announced that you can trade it on Coinbase. Then you have USD1, which is a stable coin, but here's the caveat. And I'm gonna go a little bit deeper with this, pay attention. I'm gonna teach you the game. I'm a Warren Buffett style investor. This is why I don't get fudded out. This is why I don't pay attention to hype. This is why I stay in the markets. I don't try to time them. I have time in the markets. Is what do stable coins use to be stable? US treasuries, bonds. What was happening to our bond market? It was getting destroyed. And what do they use? Short-term treasuries. And so stable coins use short-term treasuries to keep them stable. USD1, USDT, USDC, RLUSD. Let's take it a little bit deeper. So Bo Hines, who's the executive director for digital assets with Trump, just stepped down to go work with Tether to work on the US relations. But wait a minute, it goes deeper. Howard Lutnick, who is the Commerce Secretary for America, who is right next to Trump all the time, is going to be a billionaire in Bitcoin this year who ran Cantor. Cantor is a cryptocurrency company that gives loans to cryptocurrency banks. He passed it down to his son when he got into the presidency, into the president's White House, excuse me. So his son Brandon Lutnick runs Cantor, and Cantor teamed up with Tether and SoftBank with the $3.6 billion crypto venture. Bo Hines stepped down, went to go bring Tether into the US. Cantor teamed up with SoftBank with a $3.6 billion crypto venture. And SoftBank just made a huge investment last week, 12 days ago, in Intel. And then the US government just took a stake in Intel. If you can't see that the Trump family in this presidency is taking over the financial system, we're moving from a centralized to a decentralized system. By the time all the dust settles, I believe the Trump family will be one of the richest families in the world. The biggest difference is we get to play in the playground this time. So instead of scrolling aimlessly, study your ass off. That's what we did. Position yourself in a few good investments. Don't chase everything. Stop chasing meme coins and get rich quick and hype. Warren Buffett doesn't do that. Ray Dalio doesn't do that. Kathy Woods doesn't do that. Robert Kiyosaki doesn't do that. They're hyper focused on a couple assets. And as Warren Buffett says, you pick a couple of winners, you'll be very wealthy. And remember, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. And if you can't be patient for the next 4 to 6 years, you ain't gonna make it. But if you can remain stoic and you can remain calm, and you can work to rewire the foundation so your family can be in a different situation, you will be the generation shifter in your family. Pay attention. Breadcrumbs are everywhere. Warriors, rise. Get your shit together. Love you guys.
All right. So, sorry. All right. So based on everything he said, I'm going to I'm gonna say some words. He said a lot of stuff. Half of what he said, I'm like, and I read, I pay attention. We got think tanks, literally, we got leadership. I'm like, what? You know, so I know our people don't have a clue.
Slow down.
Amen. I know our people don't have a clue. I know our leadership don't have a clue. People don't think about it. If you guys think about, and y'all go to a lot of community meetings because y'all plugged in. Have you heard any of this at any of those meetings?
Vaguely.
Give me an example of the vaguely. Give me an example.
I heard it on the news.
No, at the meetings you go to.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's my point. Miss Renetta, have you heard any of that stuff that he said? And that's the point. So I'm going to read for you. Because when I heard it, I listened to it 3 times. And again, Brother Craig Lee, who runs our political department, he's always sending me stuff because he's that brother. He is him. So after the 3rd time, I captured the key words that he said. And I'm just going to read the key words. And I'm going to read it. I just want you guys to say yes if you've heard this before. I'm just going to do the key words. Just say yes if you've heard it before.
In meetings or?
In meetings. No, let me think. In general. No, let me think. In meetings. I say in meetings are predominantly Black spaces. Because it could be a church, you know. So if you heard anybody that looks like us, or someone who you know is grassroots, because we got grassroots people who don't look like us, who, if they're talking about it, it'll be the same answer, but anyway. So, World Liberty Financial Token, the DeFi platform, token, The Witkoff family, decentralized banking system, centralized banking system, trust, the Genius Act, stablecoin regulation, USDT, USDC, RLUSD, Ripple stablecoin, USD1, DeFi tokens, debanked, decentralized platform, Kraken, Coinbase, US Treasuries, bonds. Ms. Renetta said yes. Short-term treasuries, the name Bo Himes, Tether, the name Howard Lutnick, Cantor, cryptocurrency banks, the name Brandon Lutnick, SoftBank, meme coins, everybody said Warren Buffett, right? And Ray Diallo, Kathy Woods, Robert Kiyosaki. Okay, so y'all get my point?
Yeah.
The world is changing.
Yeah.
And it's changing because people who have the ability to think and the resources want it to change. We also have people with the ability to think and with resources, although those resources are different, but they're playing as a team. We're not. I don't know how many meetings you guys go to in a year. It got to be over 100, at least during a year. So I'm going to ask you guys, last year, when you were going to doing what you do, because this is what you guys do, you grassroots Black people, was anybody talking about Project 2025 in a way that was like, how can we organize to prepare for what's coming? Was anybody talking about that?
Right, we got to come up. They don't still come.
And that's the point.
And the people that try to explain it
Come on.
don't know what
Yep.
the hell they're talking about.
That's right.
It's not.
Yeah, and it's true. Ms. Renetta, in your meetings last year, did you hear anything about Project 2025?
You heard about Project even going forward now, we understand certain things, our energy maybe the first 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, talk about the problem, and then the last part, talk about the solution.
So people were talking about the solutions for 2025 last year?
The problem, like I said, is the beginning of the cycle, the voting cycle, and the distraction, all the distractions that have been going on. That's the first part, everybody knows about it, but the second part is, what are the solutions? There's a lot of rhetoric and talk about the problem. Where do we get into the space about talking about the solution? I say the same thing every time with candidates.
No. I'm asking you specifically, was anybody talking about solutions last year with Project 2025? That's what I'm asking you specifically. Okay, that's all I'm trying to get to, because I know sometimes we talk about the problem, but as Brother William Misfano said, and they go to a lot of meetings because they plugged in. But my point is that even with people that do go to a lot of meetings because they're trying to be plugged in to know what's going on, these things aren't being talked about. So for two people who go to public meetings, who go to commissioners, who go to city council, these people are as plugged in as a person can be, and they don't know why, because nobody's talking about it.
Well, I'm thinking about the money.
Yes, ma'am.
And big power, they don't discuss those names, those.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Broke rich dad and poor dad and all that kind of stuff. They don't discuss that in meetings. You don't go to meetings to find out that part of life and
Yep.
the financial part.
Yep.
You go to meetings and discuss, well, we did this stuff, the street trash and all that. But if you want to go talk about the money
Mm-hmm.
and talk about these particular things, these things are discussed in private.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. We're not gonna find this kind of information
Uh-huh.
in a public meeting
Uh-huh.
because the people that have money don't want you to know about it. So you gotta go find those.
Okay.
like-minded people
Amen. I
in that
agree.
regard.
I agree. And see, that is why I said Project 2025, this fifth version, wouldn't be what it is if they didn't have think tanks. We got to have our own think tanks.
What I'm saying is, for me, what I do, and I come here and very few meetings, that I go to, because I used to, 20, 30 years ago, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
For me, I'm very specific as to where I'm positioning myself
Sure,
and my energy, my time.
I understand.
So, like I said, the group that I work with, the meetings that I go to, you call them think tanks, what I call them are, like I said, the meeting was last Saturday. Subliminally, I am pulling in together a team of people that think like me or want to move in the same direction as I did think in and
Yes,
work in that space.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Mhm.
But when you go back to your respective communities or home, then you be able to say, look, this is what we want to research and
Mhm.
look at. You talk to those young people
Mhm.
that are well, I'm not really that connected with technology, but you talk to individuals, you get the information, and then you talk to people that can come up with the solution.
Right.
And then you discuss the solution in smaller groups. But you're not gonna go to a city council meeting or super neighborhood meeting and discuss anything in reference to the change in 2025.
Should we?
I'm sorry.
Should we be doing that? You're saying that we don't do that. I'm asking you, should we be doing that?
Don't think so, because like I said, the powers that be,
Mm-hmm.
the big money, the big powers, you don't go to large organizations, because they're gonna, as soon as they find out that you know about it, they're gonna switch it and change it because they don't want you to know.
Sure. Okay. All right. So I have a question. I don't disagree with that. I have a question. So, do you by chance remember how many pages Project 2025? Because they put it out on their website. It was public information. Do you know how many pages it was?
When they had one of the candidates forums for District 18, they gave us a copy of Project 2025.
Okay. You remember how many pages it was?
An excerpt, and it was very, very thick.
You remember how many pages it was?
It was very, very thick, and put it over to the side.
Okay. So it was over 900 pages.
Well,
And-
we didn't get that version of it. We got the version of what they sort of extrapolated.
Okay,
put to
that's
work.
good enough, and that's more than most. That's more than most. But the point is, I agree with you in that certain things, of course, they don't want you to know because they don't want you to know, and we should be the same way. The point is that we can't beat ourselves over the head because of something we don't know. My point is the stuff that we do know, the stuff that is public. For example, if we know, because this is what they said, that they want to restructure the executive branch, which is 15 national departments. Okay, so if they said, this is what we're going to do. And if we are seeing them say, this is what they're going to do, then it's on us at that point to prepare for what they say they're going to do. Even if they don't do it, we got to be as self-sufficient as possible anyway, because the American government has proven not to be an ally of poor people, period. So I agree with you, Ms. Renetta, that we don't discuss these things in our groups and meetings in churches or whatever. But my point is that we should and we need to, because we're talking about our survival.
I'm saying that in the past, it is not traditionally something that is going to be beneficial to the powers that be, the people that have the money. So they're not going to do that.
I'm not talking about them, I'm talking about us.
But that's not even now. What I'm saying is, we're talking about this is not happening, this is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of this, a meeting like such as this,
Mm-hmm.
might be, these are some solutions that you can do. I'm always a call of action.
Okay.
What does Ms. Fox know, Ms. Glenn, Mr. Wilson?
Will. Mr. Young.
Yes, a young, I knew something.
Will Young.
Mr. Day, I know something. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
After you present those things, even the candidates that's always coming in talking about this, what is the call to action?
Right.
You can talk about, 20, 30 minutes, and you can talk about that, and you explain the problem.
Right.
And the second part is, these are some things that you leave here and that you can do.
Right.
There's a call to action to do something with the information about Bitcoin. Instead of scrolling through Facebook, maybe you ask people to start talking about the Genius Act.
Right.
Find that information
Right.
out. And then the next time we meet, we find out, and let's share that.
And that's my point. My point, Ms. Renetta, is that we have leaders. I'm sorry. Miss Glenn, you want to give me your club name?
Listen, I'm just saying.
My point is that what you just said, our leaders, quote unquote, don't do. And they let me finish. Let me finish. I always do my part. Yeah.
Leaders didn't do it.
Right. Right.
So, moving forward.
No. My point is that yes, we know the leaders didn't do it, and the leaders aren't doing it now. So we, grassroots people, have to become the leadership. That's my point. My point is that we can't afford to wait on other people who are always presenting themselves as leadership, but we never see them in the community leading anything. And then when it comes to those persons who are plugged into the community, people aren't talking about the real issues of how things are changing. So there's a reason why we don't get things done in the spaces where we live. There's a reason for that. But as grassroots people, we don't understand that we have to stop relying on people who are just talking, regardless of the fact that they look like us, they got melanin like us. They talk about leadership, but nothing changes, which means what? They're not leadership. So what I'm saying, not just on the basic level of parks, illegal dumping, trash pickup, not just that, because that's only one aspect. I'm talking about the world and America changing in a fashion that we could be thrown back into a new kind of slavery. And because we never paid attention and organized ourselves accordingly, we have no power to push back against it. And that's real and that's serious. And right now in 2025, if you were to go, if you took, take 30 minutes of any given day and just go to Facebook or any social media platform and just look at the events that Black people are scheduling. It won't be about survival. It won't be about power. It won't be about us creating our own agricultural system. It won't be about us mobilizing and organizing politically. It won't be about us protecting ourselves. It won't be about us taking over the business in the community. It won't be about getting those businesses in the community to give us some sort of money so the community is fine. We don't do that. And my point is, if we don't get to doing that, we're going to continue to lose in the fashion that becomes permanent. America is creating a caste system society, which means whatever group you're born into, good, bad, or otherwise, you're going to die in that group because there's no way to get out of that group. So what I'm trying to do, and this is why I'm connected to these two and you, Miss, she don't have a name, because if we're not connected to the population of the community, we're not gonna make it. So because of what you just said, Mr. Hernandez, I'm not just a talker, I'm a doer. I started this is our 29th issue. Comes out every week. I publish this digital magazine every week. And the main picture is the first cover story, and then the second cover story. And this is the current issue. The second cover story says, the NatCon conference, saying the quiet parts out loud. What does that mean? Last week's cover story 2 was about something called the Rockbridge Network. You guys ever heard of that? Rockbridge Network? You have? Mr. Renner? So if Project 2025 is bad for poor people, what does it mean that they're calling Rockbridge Network Project 2025 on steroids? Can't be good. I know. So the NatCon conference is them saying out loud, because Trump has allowed them to do that, they don't care anymore. This country is for white people. They're saying this out loud. It's not, we don't care about these other people. And they are now doing things to show that they don't care about these other people. So for people who were kidnapped and brought here, born into slavery, blah, 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 we have a better understanding of white supremacy and racism than most groups who just got here. Because we've lived it, we were raised in it, it's affected our families. I remember, I'm 54, I'll be 55 in October, next month. I forget. I got a birthday coming. So I'm from South Carolina. I remember my grandfather not looking a white man in the eye. I remember that. I remember the Ku Klux Klan in South Carolina having parades. I remember that. You guys probably remember things too, because you're a bit older than I am. My point is that we think, as a people, we have a tendency to think that that's the past. Stop talking about it, and we don't realize that that past was public policy, which means what? It can become the present.
It's coming back.
It's here. And if we don't understand that we got to stop organizing so much for things that don't affect our future, the future that comes, we're not gonna like it. And they're no longer pretending to like you. They're saying they don't like you, they don't give a damn, and they're gonna create the kind of America that they want, whether you like it or not. And because we're not plugged in, because we don't pay attention, because that video that I just played, we don't have a clue as to what that crap is. We're gonna lose. So I have this event along with all the other events that I do to let Black people know we don't have to lose. But in order for us not to lose, we gotta do something. So every week I publish this digital magazine, and in here I have there are a few things in here that are constant. But one, to Miss, I'm not gonna say her name no more. To her point, as relates to doing, not just talking. So when we started to talk about Project 2025, again, I'm not sure about again, but we had events online and offline. Our 2024 Juneteenth event was about Project 2025. Along with all of that stuff, I actually wrote a book. This is a 44-page booklet about Project 2025. That's free on our website to go download. Miss, not going to say your name, solutions up to what? 44 solutions in this booklet. Free. But the problem is that people don't read. People don't want to take time to read. And I make it very simple. I make it very simple.
When did you write that book?
Last year. This was the second version, July 7th, 2024.
Why don't
I don't know. Maybe because we just met.
No, I'm just saying,
You know what? I'm gonna no. I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna put that back on you. So I talk about. Do you know about this digital magazine?
Why don't I know about this?
Answer my question. Do you know about this digital magazine?
About digital magazine because you never shared that with me.
Okay. All right. So to your point, I talk about this digital magazine almost every Thursday. So to your point, maybe you don't know about the magazine because you either did come up to me and say, "Tell me more about the magazine," or you go to my website and saw the magazine, or you made it your business to say, "Look, brother, I hear you talking about this magazine. I need to know more." Because if you were to do that, I would have told you about the magazine and the book. So I can only do so much. If I put it out there, I don't have time to go to every individual and say whatever. I put it out there and I try to move it and push it. Like we've had brief conversations about my time in the shrine, brief conversations. Most people have no idea what the shrine was about at all. I used to pick up Will when we were in our 20s and take him to the church to visit. The shrine here in Houston, we owned a bunch of property and a bunch of land. My kids were raised in an environment around Black people, didn't know what hunger was, drugs, crime. We owned and controlled the space where we lived. Owned and controlled the space where we lived. If you're in Houston between from OST to Griggs, most of that the Shrines of the Black Madonna owned. We had the same type setup in Atlanta, same type setup in Detroit, had the same type setup in South Carolina, and we now have a bunch of farmland. My point is, what I'm trying to do, I've lived. We got to get back to having our own communities, because when we don't, we lose, because we don't control the space. And if I'm putting out information and the person isn't curious enough to ask me more about the information, you miss out on stuff. Not because I want you to miss out. Hell, that's why I'm putting it out. I do this every week. This is one thing that I do every week, because I take this seriously. So we have solutions. We have people. I'm trying to get Brother Craig and I'm trying to get Brother Keevan to become a part of one of our think tanks, because he's obviously intelligent. Yes. He has something to offer. He's a professor of data science. He went to Princeton. He ain't the only one out here that look like us that can think. But if we don't make it our business to become the leadership that we need and identify the thinkers that we all know and get them to be a part of something that's bigger than them as an individual, then the group loses. So I try to always end my presentations with two statements. The first one is, no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And what we don't understand and realize is that we don't have enough everyone's doing something, so nothing gets done because we don't work as a group. And if we don't, say again?
We got a lot of chiefs.
And not enough Indians. And most of the chiefs don't deserve to be a chief.
Exactly.
So my point is that as I wrap this thing up, our crisis of grassroots leadership is a crisis because America is changing, and those changes are not pro us. America has never been pro us and never will be pro us. We have to understand that we have to do our part, and there's a lot that we can do to control the spaces where we live across the board. We have what we call the 6 pillars of empowerment: spirituality, right culture, education, economics, socioeconomics, which is political resources for municipality, and politics. If we don't have those 6 things, it's checkmate. But if we do have those 6 things, it's wide open. One of the things that I love about what the gentleman said is that this time around, we can be the bank. It's not too late. We can have a controlling role in what's happening. Because you can't stop. I told people all the time when I was preparing them for Project 2025, you can't stop what's happening. But that doesn't mean you can't put mechanisms in place to protect yourself from what's coming. So just from that one bullet point, if 75 or 80% of people who currently get food stamps, if they don't get those food stamps anymore and they can't get a job, desperate people do desperate things. Don't think you're safe because you're not on welfare or you don't need help getting a job. Because desperate people, they still got to eat. They got to feed their families. Security is scaling back. I mean, a lot of things are changing, and because we're not thinking about those changes, we're doing nothing. So we have to find people who are already in the community, who are already doing something for the community, and we have to approach them about running for office because we need our leadership to be in touch with the changing landscape of America. Because if we're not in touch with the changing landscape of America, we're going to lose. And these changes, they're real. They're in our face. But because we're not paying attention to everything, we lose out. So there is a crisis when it comes to leadership in our spaces. Because the people that are supposed to be leadership, they're not talking about any of this. And if the leadership isn't talking about it, the people don't have a clue. So we got to find people who are already doing, find people who are willing to learn. Like, oh, that's something that guy said. We got to, just because he said it and we're clueless, don't mean that we always got to be clueless. It don't mean that we don't do our part to learn. But along with doing our part to learn, we got to find other people who are willing to learn. And then form teams and learn pieces of it, because there's a lot. It's like what I did with Project 2025, unfortunately, I was already ahead of the curve because we've had national leadership in my organization for a while. I assigned different groups to go after different sections of the 900 plus page document. So we knew what was in it because we read it. And I was excited to see people talking about it more, but I was saddened that nobody was giving solutions. We were talking, but we weren't giving solutions. I went to a Project 2025 event at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. Beautiful campus. They did an awesome job of laying out the reality of Project 25. Beautiful job. But when it came to the solutions, the only thing they said was, we got to get people to vote. That ain't enough. And that ain't going to cut it. So I was proud then to say that, look, I wrote a book. It's free. Go get it. And it's still there to be downloaded in the magazine that I put out every Tuesday. It's free too. But you can't, you can only lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. And what I'm trying to do is try to find enough people who are willing to help me identify some horses and who are willing to drink. Because again, if we don't put things in motion to protect ourselves and our communities, like most people don't know that the Black Panthers had like 50 plus community programs, from feeding the kids to free healthcare, the doctors. They did a lot of transportation. They did a lot of stuff in the community. We got to get back to that community way of thinking, because the federal government is actively turning its back on poor people. And they're not only actively turning their back, but they're becoming hostile. So ICE is picking up people who are a shade or two lighter than us right now, Trump has already said we need to go after some of these homegrowns. He said this. Everything Trump has said, you can say whatever you want about him, but everything he said, at some point, that thing has happened.
With no shame.
With no shame, because they don't care. So if we don't put ourselves in a position to run the local security system in a municipal space, which is the police department, because we got political power, there ain't gonna be no protection for us. So all of that is why there's a crisis of leadership for our people, for poor people, for minority people, because we don't have a clue as to what's going on. And like Brother Malcolm said, Black people aren't stupid. We just too busy trying to survive and think about anything else. We can't afford to be that way anymore. We got to make time to think about our survival because other people are thinking about our elimination. And that's real. So on that note, does anybody have any questions for me about anything?
Mm-mm.
Everybody good? Did I adequately scare you guys? Could I try?
I'm not scared. I believe-
Yeah.
I believe what Trump said.
Mm-hmm.
And if other people had believed him.
That's right.
Voting time.
Yep.
We wouldn't be in such a mess.
Yep.
As what we are right now.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I do not feel sorry for those
Yep.
people.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. And what we have to understand, Ms. Fontenot, is that as long as it's one person, one vote, we got a chance.
There you go.
But you got to utilize that vote. And that vote matters a great deal. And again, we know it matters because every election they're going after it to make it harder for you to vote.
Yes.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you guys very much for watching online. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. And we will see you guys next Thursday. Next Thursday, I think we're going to have the city of Houston, well, a brother who works with the city of Houston. They have a program called, I think it's called Build, but they bring in young people to show them how to build houses and to be in the construction industry.
I saw that.
And this is a program, this is a program that they have with the city. So, most people, if they've only been around for a few weeks, they think that we're all about politics and bringing politicians in. That's only a part of it. The Growth for Care Alliance is about connecting with public and private sector subject matter experts, no matter what they do. And this brother works with the city. He has a nonprofit, and they literally teach young people how to be a part of the construction trade. And if you've been in Houston long, but you guys have been in Houston long enough, Black people used to, just like whenever you go anywhere, you see Hispanics. In the 80s, there used to be Black people.
Black.
But what happened to that? That billion-dollar industry that we once had a big part of, we know that's politics.
We got
too comfortable. And that's what happened. And that's what's so frightening now, because when I was telling people about Project 2025, we were saying at that time, so many people said, that can't happen. We got too comfortable, too complacent. And I would remind them that everything that we've gone through has been public policy. So if it happened once, because somebody voted that way, and you're not voting now, it can happen again.
yes.
And that's what we got to get our people to realize. So on that note, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. We'll see you all next Thursday.